Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, and this was Monday Night Raw's go-home show for Elimination Chamber, which is this Saturday. And Monday Night Raw tonight, as always, this show was absolutely fucking terrible and boring. It was absolutely abysmal. Well, look what we got on the show tonight. We had the Street Profits versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Again. We had Damian Priest versus AJ Styles. Again. But only it was for the United States Championship. We had a 2-on-1 handicap match. Omas versus Cedric, Alexandra and Shelton Benjamin. And then we had a women's gauntlet match where the winner gets to go into the chamber last. And then in the main event, we had Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. Yeah, this sounds like a absolutely glorious go-home show for Elimination Chamber to get you hyped up for the show Saturday. This show did absolutely nothing to get you hyped up for Saturday. Nothing. But overall, Monday Night Raw, as always, was absolutely abysmal. But if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, I did a movie review of Coma from 1978. So check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. Really good movie. Really enjoyed it. Had a good story, good cast. And you had Michael Crichton write and direct the film. So, but check out my review of Coma if you guys haven't seen it. But overall, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with the WWE Champion, the Almighty, Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley ended up coming out along with MVP, and we had Lashley got on the mic. Lashley talked about how he has to win the Elimination Chamber before he enters WrestleMania as champion. Lashley ended up going on about how his challengers have all failed and he has destroyed them all. So MVP then got on the mic. MVP was talking about Bobby Lashley's chances at retaining the WWE Championship on Saturday. And then they got interrupted by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins got on the mic. He ended up saying that Bobby Lashley is looking good right now, but not as good as he does. He wanted to say that Bobby Lashley won't be champion for long. So Rollins ended up saying that he doesn't believe anyone else in the chamber can beat Bobby Lashley. But he knows he can. So Rollins ends up laughing. MVP ended up interrupting Rollins. He ended up saying that if Rollins keeps running his mouth like that, he won't make it to Elimination Chamber. And then out came Riddle. Riddle came out and he was wearing his toga because of the RK Broga party, which we saw tonight. So Riddle ended up coming into the ring. The fans were chanting toga. So Riddle ended up saying that it would be pretty cool if he became a double champion by winning the WWE Championship and then getting back the Raw Tag Team titles with Orton. He wanted to say that it would be even cooler if they came to his toga party. So Riddle commented on Rollins' suit, which Rollins' suit looked like he was wearing a spacesuit, in my opinion. That's what it looked like. So Riddle ended up saying that Rollins needs to get ready to face Orton later on in the night, which was the main event to the show. Riddle ended up saying that Lashley doesn't have a match, and that Lashley should be wearing a toga. So Riddle was trying to get a chant going for the fans to encourage Bobby Lashley to wear a toga. And then we had another interruption. It's like more interruption, more interruption, more interruption during this segment. So now Austin Theory ended up coming out. Theory ended up going on about how he cannot let Vince McMahon down as his protege. So then Styles ended up coming out next. Another interruption. So Styles came out. He ended up commenting on Theory having his lips planted on Vince's rear for so long that he's not making any sense. Styles ended up saying that he doesn't want to lose in the chamber again. He ended up saying that no one, including Lashley, will stop him from having a defining WrestleMania moment. He ended up saying that he also looks forward to becoming the United States champion tonight. So Riddle ended up inviting Styles to the toga party. Bobby Lashley ended up saying this is ridiculous and that he's the only one here who has won a chamber match. He ended up going on to say that Theory is too wet behind the ears and that Theory needs to wait. He ended up saying that Rollins needs to realize there's no way he's running this against him, against Bobby Lashley, and that Riddle needs to come down off his cloud if he really thinks he's becoming the WWE champion. He ended up saying that Styles simply isn't going to have that WrestleMania dream he's hoping for. So Bobby Lashley wanted to say that as far as Brock Lesnar goes, this is as close as Lesnar will get to the WWE Championship. Because Lashley ended up saying that he plans on beating Lesnar all over the chamber and that he's going to enter WrestleMania still the WWE Champion. So then another interruption. Brock Lesnar ended up coming out. Brock Lesnar was advertised for the show. So Lesnar came out. He was wearing his cowboy hat. Lesnar took off the cowboy hat and he ended up marching to the ring. He had pyro going off. Lesnar ended up staring down at Theory and Styles and Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley. So Lesnar ended up using Theory as a coat rack, then as a hat rack. So Lashley then took off his jacket. Him and Lesnar faced off. MVP ended up backing Bobby Lashley off. Rollins was talking some trash. Theory ended up leaping onto Brock Lesnar's back. Lesnar ended up launching Theory with a German suplex. And then he delivered another German suplex to Theory. MVP and Lashley got out of the ring, as did Styles and Rollins. So Theory was left inside with Brock Lesnar in the ring. So Lesnar laughed at Bobby Lashley. Lesnar then scooped Theory up and delivered the F5 to Theory. Lashley raised the WWE Championship at ringside. Lesnar was smiling as he looked on. He then took Austin Theory's cell phone. He picked it up and he held his cell phone up and he took a selfie with him and Austin Theory, with Theory being laid out still. So then Lesnar ended up staring Bobby Lashley down, and that was that. Overall, this segment was awful. It was just interruption after interruption after interruption after interruption. And this is supposed to get you hyped up for the chamber match on Sunday. This did absolutely nothing to get you hyped up for the chamber match. Absolutely nothing. And then we went to the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. They were backstage. They were hyping up the show. Of course, they were walking billboards again. You know, it's been a while since we've seen the Street Profits as walking billboards, hyping up what we're going to see on the show tonight. So they end up going, talking about that, talking about the show, what we're going to see, who cares. And then they end up saying that they have some business to take care of with Dolph Ziggler and Roode, because they want the smoke. And that was that. And then they made their way out. So then we had the first match, the Street Profits versus Dolph Ziggler and Roode. A rematch. What was so different in the other times that these teams fought that we haven't seen all the other times? Same shit. So we had the Profits end up coming out, and then Dolph Ziggler and Roode end up coming out, and we had Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa was on commentary tonight, so he was featured on Raw because Dolph Ziggler on NXT last week, he made an appearance. He was in the ring along with Tommaso Ciampa and Braun Breaker. Yeah, Ciampa watching a Dolph Ziggler match on Raw. How boring is that? So the match ended up starting. Dolph Ziggler and Montez Ford ended up going at it. We had Montez Ford end up dropping Dolph with a cover, and Roode ended up breaking up the pin. Ziggler and Roode ended up double teaming on Ford in their corner. It was back and forth between them. Dolph ended up dropping Montez Ford for a 2 count as Dawkins ended up breaking up the pin. Dolph ended up grounding Montez Ford. He ended up breaking Ford's face. Ford countered and delivered a back suplex to Dolph, and he then dropped Dolph with a kick to his head. Roode and Dawkins ended up tagging in. Roode ended up getting clotheslined by Dawkins as he came in. Dawkins leveled Roode, and he launched Ziggler onto his head. Dawkins ended up splashing Roode in the corner. Roode ended up countering and nailed a spine buster to Dawkins, and he went for the cover. Dawkins ended up kicking out too. Ciampa, we saw Ciampa. He ended up getting up from the commentary table. He ended up applauding Dolph at ringside. So Dolph acted like he was going to kick Ciampa. Ciampa then ended up throwing water in Dolph's face, and Dolph ended up going down. Montez Ford took advantage of the distraction by Ciampa, and he ended up hitting a top rope splash to Roode in the ring, and Ford ended up going for the cover, and there you go. The Street Profits ended up winning the match. Post-match, Dolph Ziggler ended up super kicking Ciampa at ringside. Montez Ford ended up rolling Dolph Ziggler back into Dawkins, but Ziggler ended up rolling back out to the floor as Roode ended up bringing him out of the ring. And Ciampa recovered at ringside, and that was basically that. Overall, nothing different happened in this match. It was the same shit. So then we saw Riddle's RK Broga party. It was going on backstage. We saw Commander Aziz, Apollo Crews. We saw Zelina Vega, Carmella, and they were all wearing togas. Riddle ended up getting a Broga chant going because he was arguing with Zelina Vega about how this isn't her party. So Kevin Patrick was backstage with Randy Orton now because it cut away from the RK Broga party. So Randy Orton was not impressed with the party. Kevin Patrick ended up asking him why he isn't at the Broga party. Orton ended up saying that he's not really the Broga kind of guy, and that he has a match with Seth Rollins to get ready for. So Orton ended up giving Rollins some props. He ended up saying that he's going to get hit by the 3 most dangerous letters in the company, and that is RKO. And pretty much that was that. And then we had the video package of the Black History Month video showcasing WWE Hall of Famer Rocky Johnson, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's father, This was the same video package that was aired on SmackDown, which was very well done. It was a very good video package done on Rocky Johnson, the legend. And then we had footage of Kevin Owens that was recorded earlier in the day. So Kevin Owens ended up saying that he realizes he won't be competing in the Elimination Chamber. Of course, because Kevin Owens doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. He ended up saying, which means he probably won't be at WrestleMania. He ended up saying, which is good because he won't have to wrestle in Texas. He ended up going on about how much he hates Texas and everything related to Texas, just like he hates people from Indianapolis. Kevin Owens ended up saying that if North America was a human body, Texas would be its ass. So Kevin Owens ended up mocking Texas, and pretty much that was basically that. Now, there is a rumor going around, and I read this in an article. I have the article right here. There is a rumor stating that Stone Cold Steve Austin will have a match at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas. And this is coming from WrestlingInc.com. States right here, WWE Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin is reportedly being discussed for a potential in-ring return at WrestleMania 38. A new report from Fightful Select notes that WWE has made a significant overture towards Austin for a match at WrestleMania. There's no word on if Austin is interested in wrestling his first match in almost 20 years, but WWE is hoping he will come out of retirement for WrestleMania in his home state. Word from within WWE is that at the very least, most expect Austin will have some sort of physical role at WrestleMania, but some do believe he will wrestle a match. I would just want to see Austin in a physical role. We don't need to see Austin come back in the ring. He already had his send-off match when he faced The Rock at WrestleMania 19. It says right here, it was reported a few months back that WWE wanted Austin to appear for some sort of role at WrestleMania in Texas, but now they want him to come out of retirement. There's no word on a potential WrestleMania opponent for Austin or if any real progress has been made. But in the Kevin Owens promo that I just talked about, Kevin Owens was going on stating how he can't stand Texas, he despises Texas, and everything about it. So, with that being said, that signifies that maybe at WrestleMania, we might see Stone Cold Steve Austin, if he approves of coming out of retirement and getting back in the ring. We might see him versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. So we'll have to wait and see. If I was Austin, I would just stay in retirement. You know, this is WWE being desperate and bringing Austin out of retirement because WWE keeps releasing and firing their superstars, and they got to bring in superstars out of retirement to get in the ring with these new superstars that we're currently seeing on the roster. This all reeks of desperation. This is WWE not wanting to create and build new stars because they're too scared that these new superstars on the current roster are going to overshadow Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Bret Hart. You know, WWE is afraid that if these current superstars on the roster now get big, that they're going to overshadow, you know, the names I just said, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Bret Hart, Undertaker, and the list goes on and on and on. That's what it all is. This is just desperation of WWE to lure another superstar out of retirement and to have him go up against a current superstar on the roster. I don't want to see Austin come back in the ring. That ship has sailed. Austin had not wrestled since he lost to The Rock at WrestleMania 19, and he has made several appearances since then. He was forced to retire from in-ring competition, of course, due to his serious neck injury and his multiple knee injuries that he sustained, which we all know about that. So, I'm like, do we really want to see Austin come out of retirement and have another match? And I know some of you all think that this is a good idea if Austin agrees to have a match at WrestleMania. I would only see Austin if he agrees and, comes back out of retirement in the ring, only if he's in good shape and, he trains, for an in-ring return, and he doesn't have to worry about, his neck or his knees, because we all know about his neck and knee injuries that he sustained over the years. And if he shows no signs of ring rust. It's almost going to be 20 years next year since he had his last match against The Rock at WrestleMania 19, which was a fantastic match. Anytime that The Rock and Austin, were in a match together, you knew it was going to be a classic match, and their feud is one of the best feuds in WWE history. It was just magic and very entertaining. They played well off of each other in their promos. But, Austin coming out of retirement, now just have a physical role. I mean, do you all really want to see Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold Steve Austin? If Austin comes back in the ring and he's moving slow, God forbid, if he agrees to have this match and he's in the ring and he moves slow, he's going to be a shadow of his former self, in my opinion, because of WWE's desperation to lure these old superstars out of retirement for them to have a match with the current roster of superstars, because they pretty much fired and released most of the superstars on the roster. So this all, like I said, this all reeks out of WWE's desperation. It may be good to all of you that if Austin agrees to come out of retirement and have an in-ring return, that could be awesome to you guys. Be like, oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's coming out of retirement. He's going to have another match. But you got to think about it this way. You got to think about this as WWE being desperate and bringing, like I said, all superstars out of retirement. Look, Lita. Lita's going to be facing Becky Lynch at Elimination Chamber. So, but who knows if Austin will agree to that. If I was Austin, I would just stay retired. Look at what they did with Shawn Michaels. They lured Shawn Michaels out of retirement, and he teamed with Triple H to take on The Undertaker and Kane at Crown Jewel. Y'all remember that? Yeah, so moving on, I just want to touch up on that news. What do you all think about a possibility of Stone Cold Steve Austin possibly coming out of retirement and having a in-ring match at WrestleMania? I'd like to know your thoughts on that. So, but getting back to the Raw review. So the next match was AJ Styles versus Damian Priest. United States Championship was on the line, and this was pretty much a nothing match. So the match ended up starting. This match, nothing new happened. This is the same match that we saw last week. But only this week, we had Damian Priest win it. So, match ended up starting. Both Priest and Styles end up going at it. Priest ended up nailing a few arm drags to Styles. Priest ended up grounding Styles by his arm. Priest delivers some big strikes and some kicks to Styles, and then a forearm. Styles ended up fighting back with some kicks and a back fist, which he dropped Damian Priest. Styles delivered a flying forearm in the corner, and then a sliding forearm to keep Damian Priest down. So Styles was going for the Styles Clash. It got blocked by Priest. Priest ended up dropping Styles. He ended up going for the inverted DDT, and he went for the cover. Styles ended up kicking out at 2. So Styles ended up coming back, delivered a Pele kick to Priest. They were both down. Styles ended up getting sent to the apron, but he ended up fighting back at Priest. Priest ended up yanking him out to the floor. Styles ended up avoiding a choke slam. And Styles ended up dropping shoulder first onto the apron. So at the end of the match, Styles was calling for the phenomenal forearm. Priest ended up decking him with a roundhouse kick. So Styles ended up flying into the ring. Priest ended up dodging Styles. And Priest ended up rolling Styles up out of nowhere. And there you go. Damian Priest ended up winning the match, retaining the United States Championship. Overall, same shit. We saw this last week. Even though Styles won last week, and Damian Priest ended up winning here. Typical 50-50 booking. And then we had a vignette with Alexa Bliss at her therapist. These have been nothing but awful. These Alexa Bliss therapy session segments. So Alexa Bliss, her look was changing. She's not the whole, Bray Wyatt type shit with the magic and everything. So Alexa Bliss ended up saying that for the first time in a while, life is amazing. So the therapist ended up presenting Alexa Bliss with the leftover pieces of the original Lily, in which Charlotte ended up tearing up. So the therapist ended up giving the pieces of the original Lily to Alexa Bliss. She ended up saying that his gift to her is so she can be at peace. So Alexa Bliss was shown to have some issues with seeing the pieces of Lily. And the therapist ended up pulling up a Lily doll. And he ended up telling Bliss he has an idea. And that was basically that. So we got in part 2 later on in the night of this segment. And then we had a 2-on-1 handicap match. Cedric Alexandra and Shelton Benjamin versus Omas. Could you all take a guess who won this match? If you said Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexandra, no. Winner was Omas. So this was a squash match. So Cedric ended up rushing Omas as the bell ended up ringing. Omas grabbed him with one hand. Omas launched Cedric into the corner. Shelton Benjamin was looking off from the apron. Cedric ended up retreating out to the floor. And Cedric ended up grabbing Omos' leg from the floor, which allows Shelton Benjamin to come in and deliver some right hands to Omos. Omos ended up fighting him off. Omos launched Shelton Benjamin into the turnbuckles. Shelton Benjamin ended up coming back with a step-up knee to Omos. Omos ended up fighting off both Cedric Alexandra and Shelton Benjamin. Cedric springboard up. Omos ended up catching him. And he ended up swatting Shelton Benjamin to the mat. And then Omos nailed a chokeslam to Cedric. Omos ended up covering Cedric. And that was that. Omos won. Overall, squash match. This was a waste of time. And this is your go-home show for Elimination Chamber. Yeah, some hype going into the show on Saturday. And then we moved on to 24/7 title garbage. So Reggie and Dana Brooke were at a restaurant. They were having a Valentine's Day dinner. And we see Tamina and Akira Tozawa at a table. And they were in disguise. So Akira Tozawa ended up asking Tamina what she's having to eat. And Tamina ends up telling Tozawa, they're not here to eat. So pretty much that was basically that. 24/7 shit. It's absolutely fucking garbage. And then we saw Riddle's toga party was still going on. And the Street Profits ended up showing up for some beer pong. Commander Aziz and Apollo Crews weren't happy about that. Let me tell you something. The look on Commander Aziz, with him wearing the toga, he looked fucking embarrassed to be there. You saw it on the look on his face. He's like, what the fuck am I doing here? Wearing a toga. And so then we had Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was in the ring. He was hosting a contract signing for Lita versus Becky Lynch at Elimination Chamber. So we saw what happened between Lita and Becky Lynch last week on Raw, as Lita ended up making her way out. So Adam Pearce ended up introducing Becky Lynch. So Becky Lynch ended up coming out, and she was not in a good mood. She was wearing these glasses and this short shirt and these pants. So Adam Pearce ended up telling both Lita and Becky Lynch to sign the contract and make it official. But Becky ended up getting on the mic, and she ended up telling Lita that she doesn't have to do this. Don't do this, and don't make it official. She ended up saying that she hasn't slept all week because all she can think about is how her teenage idol came for her so close to WrestleMania. So Becky Lynch ended up saying that she will let it slide if Lita doesn't sign the contract. She also ended up saying that they don't want to fight each other. The only ones that want to see them fight are these demented people who get off on ruining people's lives. She's meaning the fans. So Becky Lynch ended up saying that she and Lita don't need to play these games. So Lita ended up asking the fans what they think. So Lita ended up saying that she's not just in this for a match. She has a whole run left in her, and a championship run at that. She ended up going on to say that Becky Lynch saw last week that she has what it takes to beat her, and she can like it or not, and that the match is still happening. So Lita then signed the contract. Becky Lynch was shown seething. She ended up saying that Lita is pushing her to a point she can't come back from. She ended up saying that Lita doesn't know what she will do to keep the title on her shoulder. Becky Lynch ended up saying that she has studied Lita's career and that Lita is going to make her go for her neck. Becky Lynch then threatened Lita some more, and Becky Lynch ended up signing the contract. So Lita ended up bringing up how Becky Lynch just said there would be no Becky without Lita. She ended up saying that if she had a hand in creating Becky Lynch, then it's on her to end it. So Lita ended up going on about taking the Royal Women's Championship on Saturday. Becky Lynch ended up throwing the contract at Lita. Becky Lynch ended up taking the Royal Women's Championship and holding her head low. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was awful. This segment was awful. Lita is not winning the title on Saturday, which we all know. Lita is just there to receive a paycheck. That's all that Lita is there for. So that was that. But before I move on to the next thing that happened on the show, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, did you all see that WWE changed up the intro to their then, now, and forever thing where they now added a voiceover to it. Did they really need a voiceover for the then, now, forever intro? It wasn't needed, in my opinion. It wasn't needed. So now moving on, we had a women's gauntlet match. And the superstar who won the match will enter the chamber last in the women's chamber match this Saturday. This women's gauntlet match meant that WWE had nothing else to book on the show. Whenever WWE uses a gauntlet match, you already know WWE Creative was lazy and they couldn't even think of anything else to put on the show. That's what you describe a gauntlet match. WWE not having anything else or anything booked on the show, so hey, let's just throw a gauntlet match in there. Let's just throw a gauntlet match on the show and call it a day. So we had this gauntlet match. This lasted 44 minutes. This gauntlet match with the woman was absolutely boring. First, to kick off the gauntlet match were Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH. How many times have we seen Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH go at it? This was boring. We had Rhea Ripley end up pinning the riptide on Nikki ASH, and Nikki ended up getting eliminated. And then Rhea Ripley faced Liv Morgan. You all think that Liv Morgan was going to win? No, she didn't. Rhea Ripley defeated Liv Morgan, eliminated her with the riptide. So you go, Liv Morgan was eliminated. And then next, Rhea Ripley faced Doudrop, which this was boring. Rhea Ripley ended up eliminating Doudrop with the riptide, so Doudrop was eliminated. And then Rhea Ripley faced Bianca Belair, which this was decent here when Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair went at it. So Bianca ended up pinning the KOD to Rhea Ripley, and she ended up winning the gauntlet match. So Bianca Belair gets to enter the chamber last. But overall, this gauntlet match was a waste of time, in my opinion. This is WWE saying, oh, we got nothing else to put on the show. We got nothing else booked for the show. So let's just do a gauntlet match to kill the time for the show. Because we have nothing else. So that's all it was. Just to fill time. And then we went back to the toga party. Riddle was singing a song. And Chad Gable and Otis, the Alpha Academy, end up attacking Riddle. They end up hitting Riddle with the bottom of the guitar. And they beat him up. Chad Gable ended up saying that he's sick of this. And that the party is over, bro. And that was that. And then we saw R-Truth. R-Truth was disguised as a waiter. We're back to 24/7 title garbage here. So R-Truth was disguised as a waiter. He ended up approaching Reggie and Dana Brooke at their table. Reggie ended up holding R-Truth off. Dana ended up retreating. Dana Brooke ended up running to Tamina and Akira Tozawa at their table. And they were stumbling all over each other. Dana ended up getting away from Tamina and Akira Tozawa. Dana ended up coming back to Reggie. And she ended up thanking Reggie for saving her again. And she ended up kissing Reggie. Reggie ended up saying that he wants to take things to the next level. And Dana Brooke ended up apologizing for leading him on. Reggie ended up saying that they can be friends. And then he ended up rolling Dana Brooke up, and the referee comes, counts to 3, and so they go, Reggie is once again the 24/7 champion. So he ended up holding up the title. He ended up saying friendship has its perks. So R-Truth, Akira Tozawa, and Tamina ended up running back. They were taunting Dana Brooke. They ended up chasing Reggie as Dana Brooke was presented with the bill for the dinner, and she wasn't happy about that. And that was that. Garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. Retire this title, please. These segments are not funny. They haven't been funny for a long time. Get rid of this title. Oh, and I got to mention something. I read this article. I brought it up here. It has to deal with Reggie. And when I read this, I'm like, this was hilarious. And at the same time, this just made me do that and facepalm myself. Because, get a load of this. Reggie thinks pro wrestling is very similar to the circus. What? He thinks pro wrestling is similar to the circus. Oh my God. This is what he had to say. He was speaking with Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc. Reggie revealed that he used to work in the circus before making his way to WWE. Oh, not surprised by that, by seeing him do the flips and the dives out of the ring. He's doing his Circus Soleil shit. So he ended up saying this. Circus and wrestling are very similar. I didn't grind in the indies in wrestling, but I grinded on the indies with circus. You know what I'm saying? I would do a show in Chicago Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I would set up the tent, 3 shows. 3 shows. It wasn't Circus Soleil. It was a smaller circus. Then I would drive back at night to be with my daughter. I did the indie work in circus, paying my dues. So this guy thinks that circus and wrestling are very similar. Oh my God, circus and wrestling are not similar. My God. This guy thinks circus and wrestling are similar. I just had to touch up on that article and just share it out there because it's just funny and facepalm at the same time. So then we had the Mysterios, Rhea and Dominik versus the Alpha Academy. This was a non-title match. So Mysterios end up coming out, then the Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Gable. So Chad Gable was on the mic. He ended up insulting the people of Indiana. He ended up welcoming us to their first public assembly. He ended up going on about how he's never needed to cheat to accomplish anything. He ended up ranting about cheaters and RK Bro and also the Mysterios. And then he got interrupted by The Miz and Maurice. So they end up coming out for commentary. They end up doing commentary during the match while The Miz. So the match ended up starting. Otis ended up standing on Ray. And Otis ended up controlling Ray. Otis launched Ray into the turnbuckles. Otis standing around the ropes. He ended up hitting a big splash on Ray. He ended up going for the cover. Ray kicked out 2. Chad Gable ended up coming in. He ended up sending Ray to the corner for a shoulder thrust. Gable ended up taking Ray up. Ended up dropping him over his knee with a gutbuster. And he went for the cover. Ray ended up kicking out 2. So Ray ended up fighting up. and Gable ended up catching Rey on his shoulder. Rey escaped, and he ended up sending Gable face first into the turnbuckle. Otis came in. He kept Rey grounded. Otis ended up stepping on Rey. He ended up climbing up to the second rope to deliver a Vader bomb. Rey ended up moving out of the way. So Dominik and Chad Gable end up tagging in at the same time. Dominik started unloading on Gable. He ended up nailing a Hurricanrana. And then he delivered a Tornado DDT on Gable. He went for the cover. Gable ended up kicking out too. So Dominik ended up hitting a suplex on Gable. He delivered a second suplex. Gable ended up blocking a third suplex from Dominik. So Gable then delivered a German suplex for bridge on Dominik. And Dominik ended up kicking out. And at the end of the match, Rey starts taunting The Miz. And we had Rey and Dominik end up hitting a double 619 on Chad Gable. And they end up going up to the top. Miz ended up coming on the apron. He pushed Dominik to cause him to lose his footing on the top rope. Rey ended up stopped climbing up to the top. He ended up knocking The Miz out to the floor. Dominik then climbed up to the top for a crossbody. Chad Gable caught him, and Chad Gable ended up rolling Dominik up. So there you go. The Alpha Academy ended up winning the match. Post-match, Maurice ended up coming into the ring, and she distracts Rey and Dominik. Miz ended up coming from behind. He ended up sending Dominik to the floor. And Maurice ended up slapping Rey. And then Miz ended up delivering the Skull Crusher finale to Rey. And the Miz and Maurice ended up celebrating. They ended up delivering a kiss to each other. And that was that. Overall, match was just very meh, in my opinion. And then we went back to Alexa Bliss in her therapist office. So the therapist ended up saying that Alexa Bliss is cured. At least as cured as she's going to be. The therapist ended up telling Alexa Bliss that she will be fine as long as Lily is by her side. Alexa Bliss ended up saying that Lily is gone and she no longer has her. But the therapist ended up informing Bliss that the real Lily's stuffing is inside the replica that he has given Alexa. The therapist ended up saying that as long as Lily is near, Bliss will be cured and can live a happy life. So Bliss ended up thanking the therapist, ended up shaking his hand, but she had him shake Lily's hand. So Bliss ended up going to leave. She ended up telling Lily that apparently she's cured. So we had Alexa Bliss, playing with the ball, the balls that go back and forth that every therapist office has. So Alexa Bliss ended up laughing. She ended up saying that she's going to the Elimination Chamber match this Saturday. So it was then revealed that Alexa Bliss is the final entrant in the Women's Elimination Chamber. And when I saw that, I'm like, this Women's Elimination Chamber match is already fucking terrible. This Women's Elimination Chamber match is going to be awful. But thank God these therapy sessions with Alexa Bliss are over. Thank God. Main event. Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. This was a decent match here. We had Seth Rollins end up coming out first. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had the commentators, they end up going over the Elimination Chamber card. And it was announced that The Miz versus Rey Mysterio is going to happen at Elimination Chamber. Great. Just great. Who's looking forward to The Miz and Rey Mysterio? Nobody says nobody. So then we had Randy Orton end up coming out, and the match got on the way. Orton ended up dropping Rollins with a right hand. Orton ended up taking it to the corner. He kept control of the match. He ended up sending Rollins head first into the turnbuckles. He was then hitting some uppercuts. Orton ended up mounting Rollins in the corner. Rollins ended up countering. He ended up sending Orton to the top turnbuckle. Rollins ended up taking Orton down. He then kicked him in the back for a quick pin attempt. So he ended up laying Orton on the apron, delivering a running kick from the floor. Rollins ended up bringing Orton back into the ring. He ended up coming off the top with a double axe handle. So Rollins ended up taking Orton back into the corner. And Orton ended up throwing him back. Orton started delivering some chops and strikes out of the corner to Rollins. Rollins ended up whipping Orton into the corner, but Orton ended up clotheslining him. Rollins ended up dodging a power slam. Orton ended up dodging a stomp. And then we had Orton clothesline Rollins out to the floor. Orton then ended up slamming Rollins on top of the commentary table back first. Orton ended up bringing Rollins back in. Rollins ended up blocking the second rope, draping DDT. He then sent Orton back out to the floor. So, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Orton was blocking a suplex from Rollins. Rollins blocked a suplex from Orton, and he ended up nailing one of his own. Rollins ended up going back up to the top while he was laughing at Orton. There was a point where Orton delivered a superplex from the top onto Seth Rollins. And there was a point where Rollins was ready to go for the stomp. Orton ended up dodging it. Orton ended up blocking the pedigree by Rollins. He ended up sending Rollins to the apron. And he then hit the draping DDT. So Orton was pounding the mat. He was ready to hit the RKO to Rollins. So we had the Alpha Academy end up coming out. And Riddle was right behind them. Riddle was still wearing his toga. And they ended up beating Riddle down on the ramp, Chad Gable and Otis. Orton ended up rushing out of the ring to make the save. And he was about to get counted out. Orton rushed back into the ring. And Rollins was waiting for the stomp. And he hit the stomp on Orton. And then he went for the cover. And there you go. Seth Rollins ended up winning the match. And that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. That was your go-home show for Elimination Chamber. Overall, Rollins versus Orton, it was a decent match. But Monday Night Raw, as always, like I said, absolutely abysmal show. Absolutely terrible. This show didn't get you hyped for Elimination Chamber this Saturday. It did nothing. And I think this is going to be the last week that Monday Night Raw is on Sci-Fi. And last week's Raw, in the ratings, they got a 1.3. That's off right there. I'm expecting this show this week in the ratings to get a 1.5, 1.4 because of Brock Lesnar being there. But we'll have to wait and see tomorrow as the ratings come out. But like I said, I think this is going to be the last week that Monday Night Raw is going to be on Sci-Fi. I think next week they'll be back on USA Network. So, but overall, Monday Night Raw, like I said, absolutely abysmal show this was. Awful. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoy this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. There will be no Dynamite review this Wednesday because I'll be working late, but expect the Dynamite review hopefully to be up on Friday. So double video on Friday, hopefully, if I review Dynamite. So expect Dynamite and SmackDown and AW Rampage on Friday. So until then, I'll see you all later. Bye. And also be sure to check out my review of Coma if you guys haven't seen it. So till then, see you all later.